Jerry Garcia. What's that? Jerry Garcia. He has a whole collection.
It's Jerry.
I like it.
Let's wave it. We call this one landscape, I think.
You need a packet? Anybody need a packet?
Right. Great. Okay, let's call the village council meeting to order. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Additions, deletions, changes to the proposed agenda for this evening. Are there any? Roll call.
President Schneider,
Present.
President Pro Tem Dyke, Councilmember Feldman,
Present.
Councilmember Glasser,
Present.
Councilmember Kuligowski, Councilmember Powell,
Present.
Councilmember Stefan. Present.
Moving to our meeting, a regular village council meeting of July 2. Shoot. I said I'm going to make some slight improvements to that start of the presentation. Communication. So we have the GLWA communication regarding the Highland Park debt. The most significant parts of that outreach from Great Lakes Water Authority. Great Lakes Water Authority Board of Directors, its regular meeting on Wednesday, June 26, 2024, authorized the Utilities Administration to implement bad debt recovery credits, which local communities have been paying for all these years, to reimburse first-tier member partners, includes Almont, those member partners who have direct contractual agreement with GLWA, who had previously absorbed portions of this expense in their GLWA service charges. The bad debt recovery credits totaling $20,206,500 for the water system and $15 million for the sewer system will be applied to June 2024 services, reducing payments due from member partners for payments in the months of August and September. That's the highlight of that communication. Kim, any ideas how much that will affect
The last credit was $100.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It was a big one.
Glad I read that. Well, whatever. Okay. We got $100. All right. So that's that communication. We have a couple of guests this evening rather than making them wait around for an extensive period of time. We have with us Amy, got your last name, sorry, who's running for Register of Deeds office, and Andy Wagner is running for Drain Commissioner against Joe Suma. Amy, do you want to make a brief presentation with you are president of the existing Register of Deeds, correct? Would you care to step up to the podium, please? And if you'd like to make a presentation, ask for votes, things like that.
Yes. Hello, board. Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. I appreciate it. As Mr. Schneider said, my name is Amy Stearns, and I am the current Lapeer County Register of Deeds. I was appointed to that position in June when the Register of who had worked there for 43 years. She wasn't the register the whole time, but she retired in the middle of her term, and I was appointed. There was a committee that was formed statutorily to appoint that position. It was Prosecutor John Miller, Clerk Teresa Spencer, as well as Judge Justice Scott. Me, as well as my candidates, all interviewed for the position, and I was awarded the position, I guess I should say, and I will fill that position until December 31st in that capacity. I am also a candidate on the August ballot for that same office. I would like to give you a little background about myself. I have worked for Lapeer County for 19 years. I started my county government career out in the Register of Deeds office back in 2005. And then I moved over and worked with Dana Miller in the treasurer's office. And then from there, most recently, I was Teresa Spencer's chief deputy county clerk. Along with my almost 2 decades of experience at county government, I also have a bachelor's degree from the University of Michigan Flint. If elected, I pledge to uphold the laws and protect public land transaction in Lapeer County. I am endorsed by the former Register, Lori Gephardt, who worked there for 43 years, as well as Sheriff Scott McKenna. I am excited to announce that in my first month being there, I have activated a fraud alert system for the citizens because that has been something that has brought to the forefront since I've been there, that a lot of citizens are worried that things are getting recorded in their name and they have no way to stop that. So I have implemented that and I'm very excited about it. And I believe that my experience, along with my education, make me the right candidate for the job. I ask for your vote for Register of Deeds on August 6th. Thank you.
I can attest that I've had extensive experience with Amy at Register of Deeds office there frequently. I can attest to her credentials and skill at that particular position. Andy, did you want to step forward? Andy Wagner is a candidate for Drain Commissioner.
I don't have a speech like Amy did. But my name's Andy Wagner. I've actually been doing work for the drain office for 18, almost 20 years as a subcontractor. In the last few years, I've seen a lot of money get wasted. And I feel there's ways to change that office around and run it more like a business instead of somebody you call and then they call somebody else and stuff like that. They have machinery that's able to be worked. I'd like to use that equipment. I myself am an operator. I own an excavating business and I do outdoor maintenance. If, as a subcontractor for the drain office, they get miscellaneous work, I do it for them. I know past, present, and future projects that are in the works. I'm not in it to stop any projects. I know everybody deserves good drainage, but I'm running for drain office.
This isn't a tough question, Andy. There's been significant concerns in the village of Almont with regard to work done under the administration of the present drain commissioner in terms of the quality of work, damage done to the community in terms of drainage and revising the landscaping where work has been done. And in the viewpoint of many of our citizens in Almont, really done a pretty terrible job. At least that's what they indicate. So do you have any commentary on the work that's been done in the past by the drain commissioner and any opinions how you might address that if you're elected drain commissioner?
So on the big projects, as of right now, BMJ, the engineering firm, is in charge of doing the site evaluations and everything else. When Joe himself is capable of doing it, he just chooses not to, and he lets them decide whether it's good enough or not. And I've been part of projects that aren't done properly, and I wasn't for it, but I'm just the guy doing the work. I'm told what to do. We've done it. It failed. I'm not happy. I have clients that I've had since I was in the early, before I was 20, that will contest. I take pride in my work. And one thing I've actually looked into is I can it's $100 to take a test, and I'm certified to go out and inspect the jobs. And that's something I want to do myself because I don't feel, as you've seen, the work is not getting done properly. Things are failing. And to me, go out there and inspect the work. It doesn't cost the taxpayers any extra than what's already out there for my pay. I believe paying BMJ to come drive from Port Huron out to do weekly inspections, you're paying $500 to $1,000 for a piece of paper. And there's that. So there is a lot of ways to save and do that. I mean, I'm very capable of walking a drain, doing inspections. And I'm very meticulous, as my wife calls it.
Good. Well, thank you for presenting your position on that, and appreciate your coming here.
Okay,
to the
thanks for
village
having me.
addressing our concerns. Thank you. Okay, I think that wraps up communications for this evening. Now moving on to consent agenda, the regular meeting minutes for July 2. A couple of editing items. Under regular agenda, number 4, resolution 24-0609-09. The first line, wherein it says Clerk Treasurer Kimberly Kiesler presented council with resolution 24-0609. I think that the word following should be adopting instead of adopted because it hasn't happened yet. So if we could change that, please. And then number 5, resolution 24-06-10, MDOT category B, grant application. The second paragraph, line 2. The third line, paragraph 2 under 5, third line down, submitting an MDOT category B grant application. I think that should be saying submitting the MDOT category B application. That's the only editing that I had. Anybody else on council with regard to the July 2 minutes? Okay. Not. General fund, major streets, local streets, Parks and Recreation Fund, Downtown Development Authority Fund, Sewer Fund, Water Fund, Equipment Fund.
Just real quick on the equipment fund, did we have an issue with 3 vehicles, or is that just standard maintenance for police department?
There were 3 different issues on 3 different vehicles.
Seems like they're all about the same amount. Was
right.
it recall work or? No.
To replace a rack and pinion. They weren't able to start one of them. And they investigated clunking noises during driving.
Satisfactory explanation, Pete?
Yep.
Okay. Payroll register report. Entertain a motion. Motion made by President Pro Tem Dyke, supported by Councilmember Steffler, to approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Unanimously approved by all council members in attendance. Moving on to, is there any public comment relating to any of the agenda items that are before council this evening? Any public comment regarding the agenda?
Hello, Holly Miller, Century 21 AAA North.
Sorry,
What?
you are on the agenda, but under open discussion, which says Burley Park. Is that it, or you have
Mhm.
something else?
No. We
Oh,
can't.
okay. Something on a regular agenda.
Yeah, isn't
Sir,
that,
sorry.
isn't-
Pardon?
is Burley Park not on your agenda?
Under open discussion after we go through rescission of park policy, village account manager contract.
Yeah, I see
but
it.
Authorized signer, NFV engineering, and then public comment for non-agenda items.
Okay.
Then it's open discussion,
Okay.
Burley Park. So sorry. Got to follow the agenda or serious things happen to me as president. Okay, anybody else want to take a shot at public comment as to agenda item, regular agenda items? Being none. Okay. Regular agenda, rescission of park policy. Who's handling that one? Kim, Manager Kerberson?
I can address that.
Please.
The memo is in the packet. The key here is that the park has a fund balance. In this particular case, we would have used fund balance to cover an overage that took it beyond budget. But because of this policy, we weren't allowed to use the existing funds and we had to make special accommodations. So that's why I've put it on there.
Essentially, whatever council decided previously was rejected by the township. And so that's why you have to change the policy. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Do we actually need a motion for that, Kim?
To rescind the policy,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I would ask council to let me take this in front of park board before voting on this. I just feel like it's appropriate to give them the heads up that the village is considering taking this step, just as a matter of courtesy to provide that notice to the board. Since we're technically in fiscal year 2025, I mean, this wouldn't make any immediate, or have any immediate effects. So if council is okay with that, I would like to talk to the board about it and just let them know that it's under consideration and why.
And Park Board may have some comment about it.
Yes.
Right. Anybody have a problem with that? Tabling it sounds appropriate in the circumstances, and
Okay.
Park Board was unaware. Okay,
Thank you.
apparently we have consensus that we can table regular agenda item number 1. That's the park policy. Regular agenda item number 2, village manager contract. And the proposed contract has been proposed to us by our present manager Kerberson. And Manager Kerberson is in accord with presenting this to council in open session. If there is if council feels there's any need to discuss portions of the contract that would require some closed session aspects, we could move into closed session. I'm more than willing to leave it on our open agenda at this point, and presume council members haven't had an opportunity to to review the proposed employment contract. I've reviewed it. It looks acceptable. In fact, it's going to save us money. Did you want to? I stuck my nose in this one. Do you want to comment on the proposed contract the contract you have proposed? So
Sure.
I'm not cutting you off. Sorry.
This agreement should look familiar to you. It is the similar or almost identical agreement that was used with your past manager. And as you mentioned, a few things have been removed from it that will ultimately reduce the overall cost from last year about $4,500 annually.
What are those things?
The first and foremost is the healthcare stipend. I'm not requesting that. Additionally, there's ICMA membership, which is roughly $1,000, and then the membership to the Planning Association as well. So add those up, it's about $4,500. And I'm happy to entertain any questions you might have.
Questions? Okay. If there are no questions of the manager or discussion at council regarding the proposed contract, seems like a motion would be appropriate.
I'll make the motion to approve the employment contract of Mr. Kerberson for the span of the next 12 months.
Commencing July 1, 2024.
Support.
Motion made by Councilmember Feldman, supported by Councilmember Steffler to approve the proposed village manager contract as proposed on the terms that have been indicated on the record. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Objections? Unanimously approved by all council members in attendance. Regular agenda item number 3, authorize signer changes. Kim, yours?
Yes, with the approval of Mr. Curverson's contract. I'm requesting that we remove Mr. Trent as the authorized signer on the bank accounts referenced and add him as an authorized signer.
Makes sense.
I'll make the motion that we appoint Mr. Curberson and remove Mr. Trump from the authorized signers effective immediately on the specified accounts.
Support.
Motion made by President Pro Tem Dyke, supported by Councilmember Feldman, to make the appropriate changes as first authorized signer of our village's financial accounts. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Objections? Unanimously approved by all council members in attendance. Regular agenda item number 4. Fleiss and Van den Brink Engineering, Inc. Engineering contract approval. I was going to get out my checkbook for $698,000. Mr. Curberson,
Yes.
make a presentation.
I apologize. I should have put a memo in with this. I completely blanked. I thought I had, and I didn't. Kim reminded me a couple times, and unfortunately, like I said, I didn't. What the memo would have said is, I've reviewed this. It's very consistent with an engineering contract on a project as large as we're looking at, roughly $5 million. I had the city attorney review it. I had concerns over the indemnification clause that was in Fleiss Vanderbrink's original contract. He agreed with me. He crafted a new indemnification clause. I submitted it to Fleiss Vanderbrink to consider for their contract. They removed theirs, inserted our attorney's wording, and this contract is then approved or has been recommended also by the city attorney as well. I know the cost is high, but that is only if they do all of the work that would possibly come up and need to be done. These things tend to be a percentage of the total contract, and because I'll be on site and we are actually going to manipulate the plan for the project, it'll be reduced, and in the end, I believe they won't come close to spending or using up the grant funds to the level you see estimated in this contract.
And the proposed fiscal year budget for 2024, 2025, this is appropriately taken into consideration.
Yes, and Kim and I were discussing that. She reminded me yesterday that some of our ARPA money will be spent on the engineering side of this project to, again, contribute towards our match that we all need to come up with on that larger project.
Council?
This is a generic contract saying they're going to provide services for the project, but there's no specifics about what those services include.
In this contract, they would reference back to their fee schedule for engineering, the type of engineer, inspection, all that sort of stuff. So this gets us through to construction. Right now, we have to do design and, of course, the work related to interacting with the federal government based in Chicago, the granting agency.
So this $698,000 is just getting us to construction. It doesn't include the construction.
Does not include construction inspection.
But even in the past, when we've gotten to construction, I mean, when it was presented, we've gotten a detailed breakout of what specific things they're going to do.
Also, in regard to this, we could take a step back and ask for a detailed breakdown and, this much for this much for this.
Yeah.
At the same time, one of the things I don't like to do, and I'm not sure if it's part of the regulations related to the grant that we have, but I don't like having the engineering firm that designed the project inspect it while it's being constructed. You know, that's kind of the fox watching the hen house kind of a thing.
And I'm not, and that's fine, but for this portion of it, before I approve anything, I want to see at least estimates of what each phase and
water design, sewer
what it
design.
includes and who's doing it and what's doing it.
Well, and
Just-
if that's the case, I'm happy to put that together and get it back to us for the next meeting.
I would be more
It
comfortable.
won't hurt or delay the project
Okay,
at all.
I'd be more comfortable with that.
It's okay with tabling this until brought back in more detail? Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. Good inquiry. That finishes our regular agenda for this evening. We are now moving on to public comment time for any non-agenda item. Is there public comment time this evening for a non-agenda item? Not yet, almost. Just need to make sure, sorry. There is no public comment. So, okay, I don't mean to make you keep bouncing up and down. Now open discussion, Burley Park parking. Sorry, Holly. Ready, set, go.
You gave me time to write my thoughts out, so it's even better now.
Okay, good.
Okay, so Holly Miller, I'm here on behalf of Century 21 AAA North. Our business would respectfully request that council review adding additional parking on Branch at Burley Park. The available lot is almost always full during business hours, and we are in desperate need of more parking. I myself park on the road when I come into the office, as I know many other business owners and their employees do as well, but the lot is still full. I would hate for any businesses to lose potential business due to lack of parking for their customers. I will admit, in any town, if I cannot find readily available parking and my stop is not urgent, I will drive through and not shop or dine there. And I'm sure a lot of other people do it. It's just, we're lazy, let's be honest. Furthermore, in my humble opinion, to attract more people to the Veterans Park, I think it would be wise to add parking to the park to make it more accessible. I would also like to add that the southwest corner is only going to continue to grow. My office will be moving to our own separate building next door before the end of the year with the intent to grow larger, and so that Yarboroughs can use the rest of their space and grow larger as well. So please seriously consider showing our local businesses that you want us here and invest in more parking. Thank you.
So hopefully my recollection will be sufficient. Oh, Angela, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're okay.
Oh, well, I was just going to relate, best my memory allows me to relate, what happened at the DDA board meeting. There was discussion about the disappointment on the part of the DDA that angled parking, which was something that had been considered, was not going forward. And the fact that that proposal was stymied. And then was discussed parallel parking as a potential. And my understanding was that council previously had not approved parking there at Burley Park, because I think our manager indicated to us that there's going to be a cost of $30,000 if we did so. Does that sound familiar at all to you, Manager Kerberson?
That was before my time.
Sorry. Okay.
Sorry.
Well,
But I have been told it was a 35,000 estimate for the angled parking.
okay. So DDA requested the opportunity to address it with council, and I indicated to the DDA board that I would at least get it in under open discussion so that presentation could be made, and their presentation has been made. Angela, did you want to add anything to what I just related?
I have two business owners that couldn't be here tonight that asked me to
Okay.
relay the
Sure.
messages on their behalf.
Okay.
Chrissy Yarborough said, as you know, we park on the road at Debbie's on the road and at Debbie's. Without Debbie's, the parking lot would be full. Our business alone would fill half the parking lot. In time, if parking isn't addressed, businesses might need to move, which would be disheartening after all the effort from building owners. And then Shannon Michael from Doctors of Physical Therapy said, I would like to speak to the parking issues in Elmont for the businesses on the southeast side of town. I have previously been in contact with David Trent on multiple occasions regarding the parking deficit. There are approximately 24 parking spaces in the back parking lot. There are tenants that occupy multiple spaces on a routine basis, detracting from the already limited amount of spaces. At my establishment alone, we have 6 to 8 employees working per day. We have multiple patients, up to 40 per day, needing ease of parking due to disability. It is a common occurrence that patients advise there is not enough parking in the parking lot. All employees in my establishment park on West St. Clair or on the grass lot, which Debbie Muir is kind enough to let us park on. There have been talks over the last few years about purchasing her lot and turning it into additional parking. However, no progress forward is ever made. It is frustrating that in the past, the village has recommended we park in the church lot and walk across 53 to get to our place of business. When parking on St. Clair, it is quite dangerous due to the narrow road width and heavy traffic. In the winter, you have to walk the roadway until Branch Street to reach the sidewalk, and it can be quite dangerous when it is dark out. Our business is open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., and employees are frequently coming and going in the dark. There needs to be something done to accommodate for the businesses on the west side of town. We have brought many tax dollars and life back to Elmont, and it is unfair that there is nothing being done to aid in the businesses that are breathing life to the town. The reality is that there is not even enough parking for the patrons, let alone the business owners and employees.
So, Andy, sorry.
Oh, you're fine. Holly's statement was for herself, so I'm going to read the one from the DDA.
Okay. Sure.
As we all know, lack of parking is an issue, and as well as deterrent to patronizing our downtown. The DDA has invested significant resources in trying to address that problem in the northwest quadrant, and we're also pursuing options to address the issues on the southeast quadrant. However, due to the limitations where the DDA boundaries lie, there are no available avenues for the DDA to pursue to increase parking in the southwest quadrant. The village already owns the property at Burley Park, and for a competitively small investment of around $15,000, that's what Angela looked into, could possibly create 10 to 12 parking spots that would dramatically ease the burden for the Branch Street parking lot and show the business owners that their investment in our community is valued, appreciated, and worth reciprocating the investment. I'll add, as everybody knows, we bought the American Legion. That cost us $100,000. We're going to spend between $50,000 and $75,000, basically turn that into a parking lot to help alleviate parking in that area. I did look up a few things. You mentioned ARPA funds earlier. Also, the Building Michigan Together plan. Hopefully there's some funds out there that could help with this. Ultimately, it's still a park. Parks are allowed to have parking. One of the added benefits is adding parking to downtown, but we're hoping, not just selfishly for the parking for the businesses, but improving that park for other people to use it. So hopefully there's some other ways to get some dollars there to help with the cost. The DDA would love to help, but unfortunately, again, it's not within our boundaries. So we ask that you reconsider looking at doing something with making that area more accessible. Thank you.
Well, obviously, it's an ongoing problem for decades. Aside from the cost factor, were there concerns discussed here at council that putting parking at the suggested location would impinge upon Burley Park as far as its available area for the veterans, and there was some resistance from that?
When we had discussions, we wanted Mr. Trent to talk to the veterans to see what their take on it was, number one. Number two, the only place that would be allowed would be within the easement right in front of the park where those kind of like bushes are now. You can't make a parking lot of the park itself because it's a designated memorial, and that's why the land was designated. Yeah. And for just for historical value, for any merchant owner downtown, a business owner downtown, the Debbie property, we've tried approaching several times, and she will not deal with the village. So we've tried multiple times, and we even had a former council member that's close to her have multiple discussions over years, and his statement was she won't talk to council, she might talk to me, and even that didn't make progress. So if somebody's got influence with Debbie, I think we would be open to looking at doing something with that if it was available, but she's not making it available. So that ties our hands because there's no other reasonable areas in that area of the quadrant to put parking. I mean, not that we don't want to, that's just, right now, that's the reality of what we're dealing with.
So the next step of trying to pick the ball back up with approaching the veterans.
Yeah.
For input.
I actually was sat with David the one day with the vets, and they were actually open to discussion at the time.
So if they're open to discussion with it, the
That was-
first two steps would be,
Yeah.
one, talk to the veterans. Two, if they're open with it, then relook at the plans and let's get recost to see what the reality is. Because we want to do what's best for everybody, obviously, and we want to help the businesses downtown, but we also have to respect what that park was designated for and what the veterans that from this town have done to serve for our freedom, which is kind of apropos with tomorrow.
So,
For
yeah.
Thursday. So.
but well, at least it's back on our radar. Yeah, because it's a legitimate concern, and so the DDA's pushing the urgency of it is viable, and we can look at it and try to come to the best conclusion. So, and do you think it'd be necessary, necessary for somebody from the veterans to come to council, or just discussion with them sufficient?
I think that reaching out to them would be sufficient.
Yeah.
Sufficient.
Okay, all right.
Wayne, from your conversation with them, what did you gather?
Yeah, at the time they were kind of wanted to see ideas and kind of blueprints of what we were thinking, because they kind of said the same thing. They're like, well, we're not going to be around much long, so what would be the future look like? And then we just met with them in the front conference room, and the president and one of his,
If there's a
other
council member
members came.
available when that meeting takes place, it might be good to have.
Yeah. We all just talked. Yeah, it was good.
Tim, I hear your concern about respecting the veterans memorial and what its intended purpose for, maybe as like a sign of good grace or whatever. Maybe we could set aside some funds to help improve the park in some way, add benches or something to, if we're taking some land for parking, maybe we can help the park out in some way.
Agreed. I think it's a good idea.
It's been discussed before too, and that is a good idea, yeah. So, well, yeah, a little bit transactional, you give something, we give something back type thing. Yeah, can't hurt. Okay, all right. Well, thanks guys for showing up.
I have
We
a
get-
couple immediate concerns that were relayed to me about parking in that lot. And one was that a business owner communicated to me that it's been observed that it is being used as a commuter lot to some extent, which is allowed. It's not against our ordinances. But if there was some communication, someone, maybe your manager or some representative could make contact with the folks using that as a commuter lot and just ask that they use a different one. I mean, if it's just as convenient, we have a number of lots that have open spaces that people aren't fighting for.
Can we comment back on that?
Sure.
We discussed it at the last meeting, so if you watch the video, we worked through that. There will be signage up there for looking at 2-hour park. Yeah, I'll aid with that. And we will-
Did that go for village approval?
Nope.
It's
DDA's parking lot.
Did it?
I would argue that the village has a say in that as well. Look at your ordinance 139.5.
And it's the police department that has to enforce it, so it's part of village government, so, yeah. But at least that's being looked at, because it is a real problem. I mean, it is correct.
But I think you're right, Mindy. It's not against ordinance.
It's carpooling.
It's not, currently it's not against ordinance unless we choose.
There are
to.
other lots that are less used
Yes.
through the day.
So
Yeah.
maybe it'd be smart to the manager look at the ordinance and specify that lot as a non.
Yeah.
And then follow the DDA's reading, checking with the police department to see the reality of their ability to make those checks and put the signage up.
or be proactive and identify a commuter lot so that people realize, oh, that's where we should park if we're commuting through town. Because I don't think, I mean, if we're trying to get people to come to Elmont, the worst thing you can do is say, you can park there for 2 hours and you have to leave. These are same people who drive to carpool and go somewhere and come back and then can go to dinner or go shopping or before they drive home. So if you want to make it difficult for them, they'll meet somewhere else and park, like Romeo or Emily City.
Yeah, but we have plenty of spots on the other side of Van Dyke, so that seems like it would be a good spot for people to do that. And then, I would request, I don't know if that can just be designated as 2-hour parking or if we need some type of approval. I'd like to understand.
Hours end at 5 o'clock, so we're not impacting any of the dinner rush. So that was only business day, because most of those businesses are transactional.
Yeah, and the dinner rush is all on the other side of the street anyways, really. There's nobody on that side of the street.
Yeah, I just want to know who gets to make that call.
I would suggest that Mr. Curbison and work with the DDA to designate a possible commuter area on the east side of Van Dyke. And then take a look at the ordinance to see if we can specify that as a non-commuter parking lot, and then make decisions on appropriate signage in accordance with any ordinance change. Would probably be the best route to take.
People have been parking lot behind our building as a commuter lot every day for 15 years, regularly. And it's not a problem in the morning. It absolutely is a problem after 4 o'clock. That parking lot is completely full after 4 o'clock almost every single day. They're parking in our parking spots rather around the building. We are completely out of parking on that side of the street beyond 4 o'clock. 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, there's nobody there. No, usually up through the early afternoon, but come later afternoon, it's completely overflowed. I mean, that is where primarily people have used as a commuter lot. It's not really an issue, but it's going to be, especially once the new owner of those 2 buildings develops them.
We have the church parking lot as well.
But we don't own it, it's just a lease agreement.
Right.
Correct.
Fine.
Mm-hmm. He's looking at you, Dave, like Dale's looking at you, Steve.
Hello? Sorry. Mr. Chairman, I'd also suggest, I believe there are some council-approved parking for residents in that lot. And I would like to investigate that, and perhaps we would consider rescinding those special approvals.
I think the concern is that they're being used in excess of the designated parking spots or permits.
Isn't it one for each resident, the one parking spot?
One of the buildings has 2 parking spots.
Pardon?
One of the residents has 2 parking spots designated and one has 1. There are 3 spots in that lot.
And we'll just keep the parking passes to vehicles, so they're identified.
But we've heard that there's more than.
Correct, that's why the issue, that's why we need the permits.
And is there, I mean, if this is the appropriate time, is there approval for the home on that street right next to the lot to allow? There isn't an approval for that. Okay.
Yeah, that's another concern, is that.
So there's several ways we can look at improving this situation.
Various ways. To move forward.
Maybe Mr. Curbison, with all his charm, can reach out to Debbie and make contact to see if anything can be done. Because us just saying we've tried is probably not a good answer. So if we try again, it can't hurt, right? And yeah, so that gives us several avenues of possible improvement.
Sure.
I would look at the park for commuter lot. That's not that full all the time. It doesn't impact businesses. There's plenty of room down there.
Some distance, okay. All right. Any further discussion? Burley Park or the other issue? Okay, moving on to open discussion, item number 2, holiday week meeting rescheduling. Who's that?
That's me, Mr. Chairman, or Mr. President. I've put that on the agenda for consideration to talk about because this week didn't need or require a rescheduling for a holiday, but I know that usually at least once a year, a holiday will fall either the night of the meeting or the extended recognition of the holiday the night of the meeting. So my thoughts here were that the charter requires 2 meetings a month, and we could do as an example, if today were the 4th of July, we could have moved the meeting to tomorrow. Or what we could do is reschedule the meeting on a different day, or we can schedule the meeting to occur before or after the other meeting of the month. So as we have open and closed meetings before and started, open one, close it, start another meeting, we could do that on the same night, hold 2 back-to-back meetings if needed. Just bring it out for discussion. I know it is always a problem at the beginning of the year. So that's why I wanted to get it out there and get thinking about it and have your feelings, take a temperature of the room for digging into that a little more.
My reaction to that is that whenever we have our regular meetings, we have multiple issues to address and deal with. And the idea that we would actually have 2 meetings in one evening, if that's a suggestion, does not sound palatable to me. The situation as it is now, first and third Tuesdays is appropriate and a way to deal with whatever is going on in our village. There's plenty to address. That's just my reaction to it. Council?
I have the same thought. Is that
Yeah, 2 meetings on one night doesn't really make a lot of sense. And this is usually addressed at the first of the year, isn't it? When the council schedule comes out that we.
Usually make the appropriate adjustments for holidays at least that's what I recall the beginning of this year. That's what we did.
Mm-hmm. We do.
But even if we did back-to-back weeks, it would be better than 2 meetings in one night.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm not opposed to doing back-to-back.
Mm-hmm. Usually we move it just one evening. It's worked out. But, we run into a problem where it's not working. Well, we've always managed to find a way to address it. So, okay.
Usually it's New Year's. It's the first meeting in January and the first meeting in July. I think that's usually the 2 that are mostly effective.
Okay. All right. So we are set with that issue. It looks likely we'll be moving into closed session. So to be as expedient as possible, let's do council manager comment time now. Mr. Kerberson, anything to bring to council?
Just a few items. I thought it'd be good to let you know. We cited Family Dollar again the end of last week for their continuing issues with storing things outside, trash on the site, dumpsters left open. We're hoping to get them to comply with this relatively soft stick. The ordinance allows for us to ramp up the costs of these citations or do them every single day. If it comes to that, we'll end up doing that. They were very cooperative last time. That's why I'm surprised that so quickly they've slipped back into their old practices. But I wanted you to know that they have been cited. This is very preliminary, but there is a new traffic signal that will be installed at the corner of St. Clair and 53. They're removing the old one, putting in a new one, new control box and so on. We've seen the plans. There's no date. There's no setup, execution. And as far as it appears, there's one small change that will include an additional pole to support the power coming to the corner. But otherwise, it's in discussion. If you see MDOT people out there on the corner, that's what they're measuring and studying the final design for a new traffic signal.
Are they going to a cantilever design versus the cable?
Nope, it's still box span.
Okay.
But it will have, according to the current drawings, sensors for monitoring stop people.
Lighting.
Yeah, ignoring the stop sign, stoplight, that sort of thing. So it will be more user-friendly that way.
When you reach out to them next, when you reach out to them about this again, let's ask them to turn back on the light at the vet at Main Street, because there's no other place in town to cross. And if you've seen the little old lady with her cart trying to get across 53 at the Dollar General, it's dangerous.
Yeah. Well, that's another group that we're working with on that signal. And we have done a traffic study for the crossings that we've provided them. That was great information that Mandy at the police department generated for us. And we are working with them about, if they insist on taking it down, where will they reinstall a new one? So that's in preliminary stages.
Okay, let's just keep that ramped up as high as possible.
Yes.
Because that's ridiculous.
Right.
I also talked with the engineer about improving safety at that crossing. And he did say that there are some ideas that we could consider. And just wondering how we start that process is to engage with them on hearing about what options we may be able to advocate for.
In the plans, I've noticed that there are the lighted hand signals that invite you to cross or not cross with the countdown. That is part of the new safety equipment they'll be installing. But they
had talked about extending the walk out a little bit so that we may lose parking spots, but pedestrians have a more protected route and shorter to cross the actual open street. He mentioned things like that we could sort of advocate for. I don't know what the process is, but he did say that there were things that they've done in other places.
Bump outs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The term.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I will certainly keep in touch with them. As I say, they just had their initial meeting on site with the utilities, and we have a big road project going to happen through that corridor too. So I can't see it being considered before next year. So
it's definitely a long range project, but if we don't start it, it never happens.
Right. I don't know if you've noticed, but we had the facility completely cleaned. The carpets were done. The windows have been done by our cleaning company in the last month. The intern that we have on staff has been very active in going through our old files making sure that we get rid of the duplicates, put our originals all in the right places, and link the projects together, and then create a detailed directory of where things are stored now. So that has been fantastic work that he's doing. When he's done here, which I think is next week, he'll be moving over to the wastewater treatment plant to go back into working with their engineering and the different things that are happening there, because that's his focus. But he did spend a month with us here and has been very effective. And that's my list.
Kim, anything to bring to council?
Yes, a Spectrum representative was out here yesterday, and I had them go out throughout the village because you had concerns that there are open coil boxes. He did in fact find them and has closed them up, so everything's all secured now. Also, we have a new notification system. The Lapeer County went away from the Nixle system and is going on to the OnSolve Code Red notification system. So apparently they can't transfer whoever was on Nixle to this new program. So residents can text the word Lapeer to 24639 to be added to that. And we've been added onto that as well at no cost. So we'll be able to send out, like, for example, the road work. So we just need people to sign up. Also, we are starting to prepare for the audit, which is scheduled for August 20th. That's it.
Thank you. Wayne?
We're good.
Pete?
First and foremost, I just want to say a thank you, if you can pass it along, to Officer Hagar for representing Elmont at the Oakland County Deputy's funeral, Deputy Reckling. He was there in uniform and it didn't go unnoticed. Appreciate that Elmont was there to represent. And that's all I really have.
Just wanted to update on park news. Not a lot to report, just that Music in the Park will start the Thursday after our holiday week here. So next Thursday we will kick off Music at the Park. So great lineup going in this year. So Park Board's really excited and worked really hard to get sponsors and get a good lineup for us to enjoy. And there'll also be a kids night where there'll be a DJ and kids activities. So that'll be new for this year. So pretty exciting. The only other thing I wanted to mention was that bathrooms have been opened by DPW. It's been maybe a little rocky here and there, but I just wanted to say I appreciate that DPW is willing to do that for us, and hopefully the community finds it to be a welcome service, and we'll work through any issues that we encounter. That's all I got.
Steve?
Yeah, I'd like to say thanks to the park board for opening up the bathrooms. I know I've already used it once with my daughter during the library summer reading sign up. So it was definitely very helpful, and it was clean and renovated, looked really nice. So that's all I had.
All right, we have finished with our agenda for this evening. Do we have a motion?
Yeah, make the motion.
To close.
I'll make a motion that we enter into closed session in accordance with Section 8A of the Michigan Open Meeting Act, Public Act 267 of 1976, to conduct an evaluation of performance and salary of an employee.
Is there support? Support. Motion made by President Pro Tem Dyke, supported by Councilmember Steffler. To move into closed session, roll call.
Howell?
Aye.
Steffler? Aye. Dyke?
Aye.
Feldman?
Aye.
Glasser?
Aye.
Schneider?
Aye. Unanimously approved by all council members in attendance. To move into closed session, and so now we have to close doors.